race to their sideline. Touchdown, Oregon!
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome back to the show. And there is a lot to unpack this weekend. I hope you're all having a good Labor Day. Its day is still not over yet. We're still finishing up the kickoff weekend, as I have to the right of me the halftime currently of the TCU North Carolina game. So there's still one more college football game left of the opening weekend for college football. So, mind you, I might comment on the game, excuse me, as it's happening. But we are here to talk Duck football and what went on Saturday afternoon, which was sort of a welcome change, even though now, after last year, where every game was basically a night game, I know Ohio State fans had complaints about constantly having big noon games. And with my work schedule back in the day, last year, having to work at 2:30 in the morning on Sundays, I would have welcomed some big noon kickoffs for Oregon. So I sort of feel their pain, but in the inverse. Wishing that there were earlier games that were being played last year for Oregon, at least a few times, because maybe I wouldn't have fallen behind on my show had I was able to sort of stay awake, or had I be able to actually be awake while watching some of these games. But yeah, so Saturday, big shout out to Montana State. They played a good game. They played their hearts out, even though they were pretty much outmatched, and that's not a disparaging thing to say. It's just FCS versus FBS teams. That's just kind of the way it goes more times than not. But they never gave up. You know, they used it as an opportunity to, sort of get some stuff on film for them as they start their season. And good luck to them on their season. Runner-up. National champion runner-ups last year. So hopefully maybe they can get over that hump this year. One thing I will say was that receiver, Taco Dowler, not only a great name in the name of Taco, but he was nice. He was nice on the field. He was basically Montana State's entire offense that game. And I believe he was the only one that got a touchdown for him. If not outright responsible for the 2 field goals that they had in terms of helping get them into field goal range. I'm pretty sure he was the guy that caught the touchdown at the end there. But yeah, shout out to Montana State for playing the game and playing it to the best of their abilities. And, it's learning stuff for them as well as it is for the Ducks as well. So, yeah, shout out to them. Shout out Taco Dowler. Great name, great player. My respect to them. That's all I will say about that. And if you have any ideas about Oregon's performance or good and bad things to take away, your opinions on the team this year, what have you, go ahead and leave a comment down below. And we can talk about it. Taco about it. Ha ha ha. There it is. As the kids say, millennial humor or whatever. I'm one of the few millennials that doesn't buy into all the millennial stuff back in the day. I was in the thick of it. Like I said last show, my first year in college was 2010 to 2011 at Portland State. So I was in the hipster mecca as all the hipster stuff was going on, and I was very outspoken about how obnoxious it was. So don't worry, younger generations and older generations. I understand the millennial problem, if you will. Just kidding. Anyway, so final score, 59-13 Oregon. Wasn't really close, which was a nice contrast to last year and their sort of struggles with Idaho. another top-tier FCS team too. So that was another pitfall we were all, as fans, sort of worried about falling into this year was, are we going to get another FCS top-tier team scare? And this time around, that was not the case. It was pretty much over before it started, up 38 to 3.5. And even though we let off the Ducks let off the gas, they still put up another 21 points. So, again, noted the type of competition it was. Taco Dowler even said that's the biggest, fastest team I've ever played in my entire career, basically. So, talent gap acknowledged, division gap acknowledged. This is, though, the first time we are able to see basically an entirely new team in live snaps outside of the spring game. And the spring game, if we're being honest, really isn't much. No one's, they're showing out and showing off for sure, but you're sort of trying not to get anyone injured, and you're sort of playing as live of a snap/scrimmage as possible. You got people that just showed up on campus after their football season and high school season's over. So you haven't really gone through a fall camp type of thing where you really learn in the playbook. You're playing spring, you're maybe post-spring camp. Sometimes people show up right after, and then the spring game happens, what have you, whatever it may be. You're not really dialed in on the ins and outs of the playbook. It's just different. And, you might not have even have your roster or your personnel scheduled out. So it's just, like I said, just different. So this was a nice sort of exhibition, mostly low stakes, but if there was a loss or a struggle, it would be high stakes because it is regular season game. So that's sort of the attitude. You're playing the game to win. You have to win because you're in season now. So it's just different in that way too. And we get to see the players in how they will play in a game. And so the idea of this was not only to get the young Bucks in the game time, and live snaps and everything. It was a chance to sort of see if these guys can execute in those situations in terms of, this isn't fall camp, this isn't scrimmage, spring game practice, this is the season. You fought for playing time at fall camp, you'll get your playing time at fall camp. You've earned the playing time from your performance at fall camp. Now it's time to show that you're a gamer as well. So, many questions were asked. Many questions were sort of answered. I say sort of, again, because it's not like Ohio State playing Texas. Oregon didn't play an Ohio State or a Texas their first game of the season, so you didn't really have a whole lot of resistance. You're not maxing out your bench press to see how far you can go and how far you will go. But, you're doing the resistance bands. You're playing against an opposing team. So the idea, though, this time was to contrast last year's performance against Idaho, but also prove you can execute, because that's the big thing, is execution. You have the talent. You have the playbook, you have the technique and the coaching, but now it's time to execute. How will these guys execute in these situations? And like I said, there is a lot to unpack in terms of this, because a lot of people showed great execution. And we will determine, again, executing in difficult situations. But for now, this is all we have. This is all we have in terms of our barometer of how people will be. So, Dante Moore, we'll start with him, played great. He played fantastic. He had I think 18 for 23. He was very precise. He was very accurate. He was, the biggest thing that stuck out was his decision making, because again, all we had as a barometer was his time at UCLA, and again, he's often running for his life at UCLA and making freshman decisions and mistakes and not taking what the defense is giving him, likely just because also the culture around him at UCLA was, hey, you're the playmaker, you have to make a play every play, and that's it. Versus, let's say, Cal versus Oregon State, JKS was a freshman making his first start, and he had good coaching with Justin Wilcox, I think, where he was doing the same thing, taking what the defense is giving him, taking the shots when he had them, and it turned out pretty well. So coaching is, again, the biggest variable with that. And so with Dante Moore sitting behind Gabriel, super humble attitude from him, sitting behind Gabriel last year, learning from him. He in his pregame press conference, he discussed that he still tries to talk to him as much as possible, and he has a lot of love for Gabriel. So he has kept a humble attitude, learning from the veterans, from the guys that know something, and being coachable. That means so much for a player, being coachable. Because if you're not, you're a problem, and you're never really gonna improve beyond the raw talent that you have. It's different when you have a guy that doesn't have as much raw talent. That's why there's the joke of the 3-star that outperforms the 5-star. Usually that biggest variable is how coachable are they. And whenever the 3-star outperforms or is actually better than the 5-star, it's because that 5-star is generally not as coachable as the 3-star. And so that 3-star ceiling ends up being much higher. He has a higher potential, and he works to reach it. The floor of the 5-star is probably higher than the floor of the 3-star, but he's made his ceiling shrink because of his attitude. Dante Moore doesn't have that as much or at all, really. He just, I don't know. I was impressed with him. I was already impressed and sort of advocating for him based on his decision to say, you know what, UCLA is not a good place for me. I'm going to commit to the place I originally committed, and I'm going to turn my personal ship around. And so you have no idea how big of a decision that is, because again, just like Jim Ross said, in wrestling, a wrestler wanting to stay with the promotion is either cash or creative, and creative in football terms is playing time. The quality of playing time Dante Moore was getting at UCLA wasn't going to cut it for him, and he also has to think about future NFL playing time. So he had to regroup, and he did, and it worked out well. He's worked hard and trained hard and learned the game even better than before to build on his raw talent. There's the saying that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Well, sometimes it's great to have that combo of talent and work hard. Pause. So, yes, he was very efficient. And the reference between fans and Coach Dan Lanning is his change in mindset and decision-making was, I think, the third possession that Oregon had, where he scrambled for about a 5-yard gain, ran it out of bounds on a third down, didn't get the first down, but took what the defense gave, and they settled for a field goal. He didn't try to force a throw, make a play, overextend a play. And, of course, if you're in the situation where you're up 2 touchdowns, you can have that decision a little bit more than, let's say, if you were chasing by 2 touchdowns. But still, that shows growth, development, and good decision-making from him. And then, basically the next one, he throws a dot, to Malik Benson for a touchdown towards the end of the half, for the last play of the half. And here's the thing with that throw to Malik Benson. I don't think most normal QBs make that throw. I'm looking at the position that Benson was in and the way that he needed to layer that throw. Most quarterbacks would have been hesitant, but he was not, and he threw it right on the money. And so that was the other play of his that really impressed me, aside from the possession earlier where they settled for a field goal. Because he's a guy that can make those throws. And, again, a gunslinger's going to sling. And sometimes, maybe against better teams, certain throws might be intercepted or incomplete or whatever. But again, a guy like him with that kind of talent, arm-wise and accuracy-wise, I would rather him go for it like that. Maybe not so much Brett Favre style type of gunslinging, but take that calculated risk. Try that throw if it can be made, because it is shown that it can be made against those inferior teams. I'm not trying to be mean to Montana State. Like I said, I have a lot of respect for them, and they played well and they played hard. So pause. And so I'm not trying to throw shade by saying that. All I'm saying is that the facts are Oregon is a much higher tier team than them. So you like to see those throws being made, though, and maybe in games where you can make those throws, why not? And in the games where maybe those throws are a little more dangerous, you'll see. You maybe trust his decision making from that standpoint. But overall, I was impressed. I think a lot of people had kind of nervous expectations for him. I don't think Dante is in the clear for many fans in terms of those nervous expectations, but I think they're lower. They've lowered, so people aren't as anxious. But again, now it's moving forward. You're going to be playing better competition. Now let's see how he does against that better competition. He certainly proved himself against the competition that he's been against so far. I thought he did a great job with that. The overall picture, though, with quarterbacks at least, I was very happy to see. All the quarterbacks that played led Oregon to the touchdown drive in that game, except for Brock Thomas. But the only reason why he didn't was because he took the final knee to end the game. They were driving. He very well could have. I noticed Akili Smith Jr. didn't play very much. I'm assuming, if I know anything, as far as I know, he's probably been redshirted, so they're probably not going to burn his red shirt on taking a knee, burning a red shirt game on taking a knee. So Novosad led a squad in the second half to a touchdown, and so did Luke Moga. Now, I understand on the internet, all the dummies on the internet can perceive me as being extra hard on Moga. It's not really hard on him. Pause. But it's more the fans that were so anxious or whatever, or not believing in Dante Moore, and they just saw that Luke Moga run fast, that they want him to start instead. And it's more comments at those fans than actual Luke Moga, because I think Luke Moga is developing very nicely. He threw some good passes in the spring game. On top of him being a runner, he's going to be a playmaker. I think he's going to be a Johnny Manziel with a better attitude type of player, where he can run and throw, both at good, if not elite levels. So that's going to take some time, though, to develop, because he has that raw talent that needs to sort of be shaped. And he's not ready yet. And so all the fans, though, again, you can go in my intervention episode. It's the same mindset. They just like offense and not defense. And so it has nothing to do with Moga so much as those fans. He was very impressive in this game on his one drive. Had a great run. I like seeing he didn't really need to throw in that game, so it was basically all running. But I liked seeing him, even if it's just a simple handoff, going back to fake throwing, and he puts 100% effort into that. Just playing the position at full effort is a lot of points, not just for me, obviously, but for the coaches. So lots of good quarterback play. The offense, the biggest thing overall was there was no drop-off once you changed the quarterback. No drop-off. Everyone scored. No negative plays the entire game. So that says a lot, too, about the backups. No negative plays even with the backups in. That's a lot of good news. Again, competition level noted. But again, even in a game where you win 70-0, you might have a negative play. A running back slips up behind the backfield. Sometimes or in the backfield. Sometimes it just happens. So that is great. Quarterbacks execute. They executed very well. The receivers. Holy cow, Kenyon Sadiq. Like, I know this is not a hot take or anything. I know I'm a hot take merchant, apparently. But this is obviously the easiest take you could have. This guy is an absolute alien. I'm pretty sure the recruiting theme that Oregon had this summer about being created in a lab, they were thinking of Kenyon Sadiq when they were making that sort of motif in the photography and videography of the recruit visits. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go visit the social media and stuff of the Ducks. They had, with all the recruiting visits and people, visiting this, making their official visits to the school and stuff that were being recruited, the whole sort of mise en scène, to put filmmaking terms on it, the theme was, laboratory, being created in a laboratory, science created, so on and so forth, that type of thing. I'm pretty sure they were talking about Kenyon Sadiq. His first touchdown, the dude hit him with full force. Like, this guy was the aggressor in the tackle. Kenyon Sadiq was making a catch. The guy was coming up to make the tackle. And the guy just bounces right off him. And, like, his helmet kicks back like that. Just bounces right off him. And Sadiq finishes him off with the stiff arm, pushing him to the floor and running it into the end zone. Just insane that the aggressor and the tackler is the one that bounces off when the force is applied. Like, it was an unstoppable force, I guess, meeting the immovable object in Sadiq. Just a freak athlete. I mean, just incredible. I think there's no tight end in this country that's better than him at this point. He could he could line up at receiver if he could. That's how much of an athlete he is. And some of the blocking, he was IHOP dishing out pancakes. I mean, just splattering everybody on run plays, moving bodies. So it's not like he's just an athletic finesse guy either. He'll pop some pads on you. So that's obvious with Kenyon Sadiq. Malik Benson, though, I think we are going to see kind of a breakout year for Benson. He didn't really do a whole lot in Alabama, and he was part of the Florida State squad last year that went 2-10 that struggled. But it really wasn't obviously because of him. There was so much chaos and everything in Florida State last year was just nothing. The ball of crap was just rolling downhill, and it wasn't stopping. There was everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It was Murphy's Law for Florida State last year. But he did have sort of a propensity to drop catches. He had a little bit of concrete hands, not butterfingers, but where it just kind of bounces right off. He had some dropping issues. He looked good Saturday. He looked good. He was running his routes very well. He was getting open vertically. Like I said, he was the one that caught that pass from Moore before the halftime to score a touchdown. I don't really think he dropped a pass that entire game. He caught everything that came his way. outside of maybe an incomplete pass being thrown his way, but I don't think he really did. So I think it might be just, again, like most players who often transfer, like we saw with Carson Beck yesterday. Sometimes it's just the change of scenery in terms of geographics, but also the change of scenery in the locker room that was the issue. And if you find your spot, then you finally can sort of get the ball rolling and ball out and sort of raise your stock, So I was very impressed with Malik Benson. I see a breakout year, I think, for him, at least in terms of maybe not putting up crazy stats, but definitely a breakout year for him as a player, which will benefit him. The receivers, man, we didn't have Dylan Gresham. Apparently he was out for the game. I saw him on the sidelines over the broadcast in a neck brace, so hopefully he rests up well. He was one of the players that I was excited to see, but unfortunately he was not there, so hopefully nothing serious for him. But that didn't really stop Oregon's receiving core, just absolutely deep. DeCorian Moore, he didn't put up a 300-yard game or nothing, but still impressive, obviously. I mean, DeCorian Moore is DeCorian Moore. We know what we got with him in terms of the program and the fans watching him. We know what we got with him, and he still showed tinges of that, even though obviously I think it was to the simplified playbook, I think was more to just the simplified playbook wasn't going to go to him every time, type of thing. Like, it just, if you don't really need him in a game like that, don't risk injuring him or anything of those sorts. So give him the touches that he needs, and he'll make the most of it. And he did, even when he didn't get touches. And you know what I'm about to talk about. But let's start with the hurdle off that DeCorian Moore had against Kenyon Sadiq, because I think the very next possession, he had a nice little kind of comeback out route type of thing on the sideline, catches the ball, makes the first guy miss, hurdles the second guy, and gets knocked out of bounds. Just incredible athleticism. Can get so much yards after catch, or he's a threat for yards after catch every time, even if you think you got him. And so that was just impressive. And his little reverse to get a first down, his first carry on the Ducks for his Duck career, I think went for like 17 yards and a first down. So again, just anytime he gets the ball, he's a playmaker. But the big thing from him was, and I'll, I guess, expand upon that, was his block on a screen to Gary Bryant Jr. On a screen to Gary Bryant Jr. and Gary Bryant Jr. scored. DeCorian Moore's block on that cornerback or safety, whichever defensive back it was, I didn't really see pre-snap, is already a meme. It's already sort of legendary. He was the line cook, the fellow line cook at with Kenyon Sadiq at IHOP, just dishing out a pancake. And the funny thing is, too, I guess, is Lanning said he blocked the wrong guy, but he gave 100% effort. And he did. And he did block the wrong guy. The guy, he was supposed to cross and block the guy that was manned up on Gary Bryant Jr., but he went on his guy, basically. But I'm going to tell you why that tells me, too, that not only because of his play, but DeCorian Moore's attitude, why he has me bought in on that. Because here's the thing. Receivers, and especially star receivers, can be absolute divas. There's just no denying it. I was a receiver. You get prone to that because it's not like a running back where it's almost sort of expected you're getting the ball every play. Or a quarterback, obviously. Every play runs through you. But let's say with the way the game at least was when I played, but I think in general still now, obviously everything was to establish the run. And you might not even be the guy on the screen passes, because I know nowadays the sort of evolution new run play is the bubble screen type of play. You might not even be the guy that gets the bubble screen pass. So every time that you think you should be getting the ball, you want that ball. And if you don't, you get pissy. And so wide receivers can fall into that pitfall of being prima donnas and divas. And one of the biggest things that they don't always like doing, they want to run routes and catch the ball. Receiver, run route, catch ball. That's sort of the caveman thing. So blocking is not first on the mind. That to receivers, blocking is a wasted play. And so most wide receiver coaches, offensive coordinators, coaches of all kinds, they have to go the extra yard to motivate receivers to block. Even though them blocking is incredibly important and can make or break a play being a big gain or a touchdown or a loss. And it does not seem like DeCorian Moore has that diva attitude whatsoever. He's in. That to me, when I'm looking through the lens of a receiver and they put that kind of effort, even when they're wrong, they're putting in that effort to block. Because frankly, even though he blocked the wrong guy, Gary Bryant probably scored because of DeCorian's block still. So even when you're making a mistake and you put it at that 100% and you are going into a block as a receiver with that kind of 100% attitude, that to me says this guy's bought in. And you love to see it. You don't want to see a jog and a patty cake block. You got a guy driving him 10 to 15, maybe even 20 yards on his back into the ground. You know that guy's bought in. And it says a lot when you got a true freshman, 5+ star. You know, these guys can get their feet kissed and their ass kissed the second they walk on campus, and they could do no wrong. And that could sort of demotivate them to do anything the extra mile, but not for DeCorian Moore. And so that tells me that this guy is bought in and he's ready to play, and that's going to pay off for him in the future. I'm going to take a quick break real quick, and we will get back into more receivers. All right, sorry. I'm fasting today, so things are running through. Okay. Receivers. All right. So DeCorian Moore, bought in. Love it. Love to see it. Played really well. Didn't need to be a playmaker, even though we all know he's obviously capable. Another standout, obviously, besides Malik Benson, DeCorian and Kenyon. Kyler Casper had a great play with Novosad. He had a great catch for a big chunk. Casper looks good. I think Cooper Perry had a couple catches, and he looks good. Just the wide receiver depth, I think, has been built. So even if a couple guys go down, I think we're in good hands. Pardon the pun. Every single one of them had a great game. And when they got on the field and they got their opportunity, they made the most of it. But the one I think is sneakiest in all this that might have potential to have kind of a breakout year, I think we found our sort of offensive Keith Lewis in Jeremiah McClellan. he had some decent offensive plays. He was a contributor on offense, but his biggest contribution was blocking 2 punts. In like the first 2-3 defensive possessions for Oregon, he got in there and blocked 2 punts. And so that reminds me sort of the offensive Keith Lewis. Keith Lewis was a playmaking safety, but somehow he's just a master at blocking punts. So I don't know if we may have found that in Jeremiah McClellan, but he was making an impact anytime he was going on the field, and you like to see that too. Again, a special teams player that makes those types of plays. I think special teams is going to be big. If you can have someone that's impactful, that's going to be a big year for you on special teams. I'm glad they're sort of sneaking him in any chance they get. On offense, they sort of did that last year too during certain blowouts. Oregon didn't really have very many blowouts last year to play the garbage time type of guys to get him snaps. But McClellan, I think he's flying under the radar a little bit, but he's picking up on my radar at least. I'm very excited to see how things will go moving forward from here. So I'm excited to see that. Now, as far as the offensive line, they played way better than the offensive line last year. There was no chemistry issues, no gelling issues, no real complaints. We had a bit of a scare with Pregnon, which would be very unfortunate if we lost him for a season ender the first game. But I think he's okay. Over the course of the game, he was back on the sidelines with the helmet on. He looked ready to go in. And I understand, though, them being like, we had too much of a scare. We want to keep you for later. We don't need you this game. And thus sitting him the rest of the game. Obviously, Lanning is not the type of guy to give out injury reports right away. Again, we didn't even know about Taron Johnson or Dylan Gresham or any of those guys that were on the injury list that were there suddenly when the depth chart or whatever was right before kickoff. So there was no denotation of any of those guys being injured, which was kind of a bummer to see. But so we probably won't get that with Pregnon. But as far as I know, it seems like a near miss. He just got rolled up on a little bit, which obviously happens with offensive linemen, and it sucks. And I have all the sympathy in the world for offensive linemen because they're just asking to get their knees blown out every play, which is why I think it's actually an NCAA rule that they have to wear those knee braces. They can't go without the knee braces. So, but with potentially Pregnon being back, but offensive line, I mean, if the turf was grass, I mean, Dante Moore and eventually Nova Sad and Moga, all the quarterbacks, they would have had clean jerseys, no grass stains whatsoever. Moore had so much time to throw. He was able to look around, and it showed by the fact that he hit 10 different targets the entire game. He spread the ball around and was the epitome of a quarterback playing point guard like he should be. Man, this Carolina TCU game is getting out of hand. It's already 34-7 or 33 before the PAT. But, wow, this was not – I don't think how many people were expecting a Bill Belichick run program to start off Belichick. I mean, they probably weren't expecting him to win, but at least a little more fight. But anyway, yeah. So I think Bedford, Poncho were the returning starting offensive linemen, if I remember correctly. Again, I get familiar with the depth chart, but I don't go super granular. I'm sort of just kind of looking at who's going to be the starter. Okay, got it. But I will try to do my research better on that front. But So you have returning guys, but then you have Isaiah World, who is a seasoned enough veteran, and Pregnon as well, who also had starting playing time, and both were high level offensive linemen even out of high school. So, but again, just like with Idaho last year, the idea was like, what is going on with these guys? They just can't get it right. And they kept having to do the 3-card Monty, shuffle them around to see who they will get to have it where the personnel package works. And so I think Lanning learned from that last year or whatever, and they didn't have that problem this time. They had great protection, quarterbacks untouched. The running game was right off the bat. I mean, Whittington broke that big one, for the long run, first play of the game, and they were maybe fellow line cooks again. I don't know. They were the big boys up front at the IHOP. So, excited to see where that goes. Excited to see that they have that chemistry and they've gelled a little bit. They got that communication going on already. And now it's time to really move forward with more intense competition and really see the potential and what they can do together as the offensive line squad and really put them to the test. Now with running backs, I mean, it's like the receivers 2.0. Like, they are so deep, it is insane. So deep, so in fact that Mekhi Hughes really only saw like 12 snaps. If I recall correctly, that was the number. 12 snaps in the game. Most people were kind of expecting to see what he can do this game and sort of maybe see a bulk of the carries. But, I mean, we didn't really see much of him, but there was no drop off again either. I mean, people are speculating that maybe he's not the best running back on the squad right now, and maybe that's why he's not getting much playing time. But I think the running back room is so deep, he wasn't really needed that game, and they might wait to have him for more intense games or more competitive games. Who knows? But I don't think it's time to panic or get angry that Mekhi Hughes didn't see much playing time. Again, I think the reason why this live stream was titled The Embarrassment of Riches is because that's what it is. At running back, too, you have an embarrassment of riches. I mean, Whittington looks like he's returned to form before his injury. Last year, he struggled a little bit, and it took him a few games to get into the swing of things, and even then I don't think he was 100% mentally, because again, like discussed before, when it's something like an ACL injury and things like that, it is so hard to trust your knee to make cuts and take hits and do all those, give hits and do all those sorts of things. And so with Whittington, though, this time around, I didn't see a whole lot. He busted that first play wide open and took it, I don't know, like 40 yards or something like that. He looked real good. He looked like the starting running back again, the guy that, was one in tandem with Jordan James, but two, the starter with Bucky Irving back, a couple years ago. It looked impressive. He impressed. And then you got Jay Harris, taking a Texas route for yards after catch, making good plays that way. D'Air Hill is a beast. I don't really know what else to say. He was lowering his shoulders, running through tackles. He looked great, and he also looked great in the fall camp as well, apparently, which is why he got his a scoop and score for TCU. Oh my gosh, this is like Georgia treated TCU a few years ago, 40-70 or 40-7. Wow. Scoop and score. But Dyer Hill looked great. No complaints, living up to the hype. So far, so good. Now, Jordan Davison, he didn't break off any big runs, but that's not his role there, and he played his role very well. A short run, or a short yardage runner. A tank. He's just a tank. I don't know what else to say. I can't remember if he's like 5'10" or 6'2". I don't know. He's one of those heights. So he's not a short guy. I don't know if he's extremely tall or whatever, but he's not a short guy by any stretch of the imagination. Let me actually look that up real quick just to be doubly sure, because I don't want to. Again, you have a lot of people that are kind of autistic, and Oregon height. Yeah, 6 feet, 216 pounds. He's just he's a truck. He's a Mack truck, and he'll just run through you. I don't really know what else to say other than that. And it showed, though. I mean, there was a couple times where it was almost a goal line stand, get like 3rd, 4th down, and goal on the 1. With another running back, and they throw in Davison, and he punches it in. And that is honestly something that Oregon hasn't really had in kind of a long time. I don't really want to compare him to LeGarrette Blount, because he doesn't seem like that type of player. It's not the same style still, even though Blount was a north and south sort of run-you-over runner. Blount had a good amount of athleticism too, and he wouldn't really, like, if Blount could hurdle you, he'd rather hurdle you than run through you, even though he was very capable of that. But Davison doesn't really seem concerned with hurdling. He just wants to run right through you. So no complaints there. I mean, but that's something Oregon hasn't had in a long time, is that sort of goal line, short yardage, need to punch it in, can't settle for field goals. We're on the 1 yard line, and the guy, the defense keeps stuffing us the last couple plays. We need a guy just to run through and punch it in already and get it done. And it seems like we got one with him. And so I'm very excited to see what he does in the future. I'm very excited to see what Hill does in the future. Jalen Lamar also got his. He's kind of a known entity, though, at this point, what he's capable of. And I don't mean that in the bad way. I mean that in just like, yeah, we're good on the Jalen Lamar front. We're good. Dwan Riggs, again, another guy that's just outright running back. Like, there's just no he'll make you earn it, and if you earn it, he's gonna make sure you earn it even harder next run. And the style of running, a lot of these style of Oregon has cultivated a style of running back they like, and it's a Bucky Irving, Jordan James, a hybrid of either, and a ground and pound guy. Like with Davison. So they got it. That they got their guys in the backfield. Every single one of them is exactly, that type of player. You if you want sort of the DeAnthony Thomas style guy, you got him on the receiver core. So you don't need that kind of I don't know. You got the lightning, you got the thunder, and you got that perfect tandem there. You got the speed and you got the power. Some guys got both in one in one pair of pads. So I'm excited to see how our running game is going to be as well, and that's going to just open up the passing game a lot more. And even if Dante Moore was a Heisman-winning fifth-year senior, it's still a great thing to have in terms of a running game that can take the burden off the quarterback. And even if the quarterback is plenty capable, like I said, Heisman winning fifth-year senior, he can carry the team, national champion. It's still great just to have that burden taken off with a great running game. And so I think we're going to see some good things in that running game in tandem with what Dante Moore is potentially capable of, and just getting Dante started. Because obviously, I don't know, maybe Dante plays so well this year that he declares for the draft after just a year. But I would expect him to be there another year, and it would just be great to get a good year under his belt while he makes his NFL draft campaign year the next year or whatever. So offense is basically an entirely new team except for like a Poncho or a Bedford. All new players on the team, and even the guys that are there now that have been in the program for a year or two or whatever, redshirt freshmen, sophomores, all that kind of stuff. This is their first time playing, really, so they're part of the new team in that regard, especially with Evan Stewart gone. The only exception, I guess, also being Gary Bryant Jr. Let me also give him an honorable mention. He was not honorable mention, but make sure to mention him. Gary Bryant Jr. was out last year with a major injury. I can't remember the injury myself, but he looked good. He seemed to be a return to form. He's that classic receiver that once he gets the ball, he's going to make you miss. He's going to make the first guy miss, and that's the most important guy to get to miss. And if you make the first guy miss, as a defense, you're screwed. You better make sure you make you better make sure he doesn't make anyone else miss, or he takes it to the house. And that's exactly what he did on that screen pass with Decory Moore blocking for him. He made that first guy miss, and it was a touchdown. I'm very excited to see Gary Bryant Jr. back on the field, and it doesn't seem like he's missed a step, and that's great. You want a guy that comes back from injury better than ever, and hasn't missed a step, and that's what I noticed with Gary Bryant Jr. And that is also clutch right now that Evan Stewart's gone for the season, basically, hopefully, and I say that because I don't want Evan Stewart to come back too early. Right now, everything for him is kind of in a fragile state, and if he comes back too early, he might mess it up, and I want to see him succeed. So I want him to be smart about his recovery from injury and his recovery and rehab. He should take that seriously and take his time. There will be another year, and so I want to see Evan Stewart do well and perform well. So, but with Evan Stewart being gone, you have that missing veteran sort of leader thing. But with Gary Bryant Jr. being back, not only do we have a punt return weapon and a receiving weapon, you have that veteran leadership. He's been in the program for a few years now already. He's seen some time playing. Now it's like time for him to step up and get much more time playing. And now he's the oldest guy on the receiving roster at this point as it stands. So not only is his performance on the field going to be important, his leadership role is going to be much more important. And I'm very happy to see that his performance level has not dropped off or dipped at all. It's a return to form. Nothing really changed. He hasn't lost a step. That half is taken care of, and I'm excited to see what he can do as a leader. 41-7. North Carolina, come on. I'm rooting for you. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean. I wanted to see a competitive game. It's the last one of the week, Labor Day. I shouldn't have picked Labor Day to fast because it's barbecue day, and I really wanted to barbecue. I miss my barbecue. I moved to an apartment complex that has no space for an actual grill versus my other place that was a duplex, and I'm very sad. I want a grill. Anyway, that is the offensive side. Now, this is an embarrassment of riches that I've gone nearly an hour of talking about just the offensive side of the ball. Haven't even gotten to the defensive side. The defense looked good. Looked great. I mean, come on. There's really not a whole lot of complaints. Again, competition level noted, but the defense didn't really put up crazy stats. They weren't really needed to, and that's not really a bad thing. And Amari Washington there's not really much of a drop-off after Harmon left for the pros. Amari Washington has taken that torch and run with it. And I really think that a guy that size should not be allowed to be that fast. I mean, dude, let's get a look at his size. I mean, because I'm just imagining, me at that size. I would be slow. I would be slow as molasses in the wintertime. Let's see. Amari Washington, height, weight. Okay, 6'3", was it 331 pounds? 331 pounds. So he's an inch taller than me, but he's 100 pounds heavier than me, and he's probably faster than me now at this point. I probably lost a step in my sprint speed. I mean, a guy that big should not be basically beating linebackers and cornerbacks to the sidelines to tackle the guy. He might as well have been on the roster for Montana State as quarterback. He was in the backfield so many times. I mean, just a beast. I mean, I think everyone knew in last season, I think everyone knew the sort of dormant volcano that was present with a guy like Amari Washington and the rest of the D-line, really, that was there. And now it's sort of just letting him go cut loose. Mateo's Mateo. He'll get his even, Montana State, because of Washington, sort of realized early that they weren't going to be able to run the ball like they wanted to. And so they were wanting to pass the ball. And I think Montana State also knew about Oregon's pass rush capabilities, that they sort of neutered the pass rush by doing quick RPOs, quick routes, timing routes, getting the ball out of the hands of Lamson. Basically, upon him getting the ball from the snap, he's got the ball out to try to neutralize that pass rush. And even then, Mateo still got 2 sacks. So it is a statement to Oregon's ability to get at the quarterback with that sort of strategy that Montana State was taking, and they still got 2 sacks. And one of them was on a screen pass. It probably should have got out sooner, but the coverage on it was good enough where Lamson had to hesitate a little bit, and Mateo got him. So Mateo is Mateo. But as far as who I think on the defensive side, and particularly the defensive line, who I think is going to have a breakout season, is Tatum Tuioti. And he's Tony Tuiotti's son, coach's son. But, he was kind of second platoon, show up during certain packages, certain snaps type of player the past year or two, mostly last year. I think the year before that, he was a very green freshman, so he would show up every once in a while. But this year, he's going to be more of an every down, every snap type of edge rusher like Mateo. He's basically going to be the other side of Mateo. And so we're going to see a lot more of him. And what we have been seeing so far has been pretty good. He's been a disruptor when he needs to be. He's a guy that gets pressure on the other side of Mateo. And he's been pretty decent at containing the edges on in the box run plays. I think that Tatum is probably going to have a breakout year this year because he's going to have more opportunity, and he's shown that he's got what it takes. I think so. Very looking forward to him. I think he's going to have a breakout season this season. As much of a breakout season as you could have with being lined up on the other side of Mateo Uiagalelei. Now, I think the Ducks are in an interesting situation this season. We have often had a safety and a cornerback who are elite level safeties and cornerbacks. We usually only have one, though. You know what I mean? So, and not mutually exclusive. So you had a Justin Finney with a Keith Lewis and a Aaron Gibson with a Patrick Chung or TJ Ward type of thing. The D-Boys type of thing. Or an EFO with an Avery Patterson or whatever, type of thing. But it's very rare, D-Boys being the exception. Oh, yeah, good job, Carolina. You got another score. Let's make at least enough of a comeback to make this a game. But it's sort of very rare that Oregon, or more rare than not, I should say, that you have elite level boundary corners on both sides and elite level safeties on both sides and all at the same time. D-Boys being the exception, or one of, if not the exception. That's not to sort of disrespect the secondaries that Oregon has had in the past. We've had very good secondaries in the past, going all the way back to Kenny Wheaton, Jaya Figueres, Rashad Bowman era players. And like I said, aforementioned Finney, Keith Lewis, Rashad Bowman was also kind of in that crossover too. But again, this is kind of different, and they're young secondary, very young, so you're gonna see big plays or coverage breakdowns. But the idea with the young secondary is to try to mitigate the amount of big plays you get to being the lowest you possibly can get. Just recognize you're probably going to give one or two away, but make sure it's just one or two. And it sort of showed with some mesh routes, drag route, crossing routes. They were a little behind on the crossing routes, but those are, especially as a DB, and in coverage, those routes are just one of the hardest, if not the hardest ones to defend. And the big thing is, if you get beat on a crossing route, you make sure you getting beat on that route is the most that will happen in terms of you getting beat. If they catch it, at the very least, make sure you have sprinted as hard as you can on your pursuit angle, and you get the least amount of yak as possible that you give up. And that's what I saw. I mean, there was one play, and I'll go deep. Let's start with Brandon Finney. He was a guy that I had my eye on basically since him committing to Oregon, and sort of hearing noise. Okay, well, let me go look at his tape. And I looked at his tape and I said, I'm kind of surprised he was only a 4-star corner. Again, I'm not really a talent evaluator. I'm just going on my gut. Okay. I'm not going to I'm not going to sit there and go into the minutia. He probably was properly evaluated as a 4-star, but I'm just saying he was a very good 4-star as when looking at his tape. And I saw enough where I was like, okay, yeah, he's fast, especially for a guy who's 6'2". No doubt about it. The evaluators were right, but when you step up to college and in an actual game in college, that's where you really see sort of when the evaluators are saying sort of good speed. When you're in high school and you are a 4-star, 5-star that's been evaluated as someone who's speedy, I can tell you from firsthand, those guys still aren't really running as fast as they're able to run in high school because they're that much faster than everyone in high school. You know, they can go at a 75% sort of run jog and still outrun everybody. So you really only see the speed when you move up to the D1 level and are playing with people that are comparable in speed, if not the same amount of speed. That at the very least they're speedy enough to actually test your speed. And holy cow, with Finney, I saw one play, he got beat on a drag route by Taco. Rightfully so. Taco earned that one, and it looked like it was going to go for yards. Like Taco had a lot of space in front of him to start turning upfield, but Finney put a stop to that almost just after immediately. Like Taco was starting to get rolling and Finney had caught up to him. He ran him down. And I was like, oh, I love to see that because let's say in any other year, with corners either not big enough or not fast enough, that would have been a big play that would be given up. And Finney put a stop to it. I love and Finney had all sorts of plays to show that. I wish purple is one of my favorite colors, but they're not Husky glasses. I bought these at a store. They were on sale on clearance. Someone in the chat called out my glasses for being Husky glasses. I have green ones. I have green ones in my car, though. Maybe I'll start wearing those for future shows. That's Stevie Mac. Great name. Yeah. So Finney impressed me. I like that he's got a little bit of fire to him, that he'll hit and he'll get a little lippy when he hits. I like that. I like a little bit of attitude on your defensive backs. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but I would like to see being a mouthy defensive back is a double-edged sword. It can be, because if you're talking smack, you better be able to back it up. And if you don't, then you're just an annoying sort of lippy person, and receivers love being able to cook you. So there's a fine line, but so far Finney has been able to back up the smack talk at least. Ife Obadewu is iffy. I mean, he was on every receiver he was supposed to be on. If the ball touched the guy's hand, he would smack it, right out of the hands of the receiver, or his timing was great in terms of not hitting the guy and making a play on the ball before the receiver had a chance to make a play on it and get a penalty. And that was another thing. Clean game by the whole team, but if there's a clean game with penalties regarding the secondary, that's a win. There's only one with Naeem Offord, which I frankly didn't think was a PI call. It was very ticky-tacky, I'll say that. And it was during garbage time, so not much to there. He played the high point of the ball, though. Anyways, he probably would have benefited from turning around. He was in phase, as the defensive backs say. He wasn't really beat. He was almost a little too fast where there was enough contact where they were able to throw the flag. If he turned around, he probably would have gotten a pick. So that I would like to see change, but I've been in the defensive back world for over 20 years now, both as a player and watching it, and I know that's just not going to happen. It hasn't happened for very long, it hasn't happened for a very long time, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. So, but Naeem Offer did well. Dylan Thieneman wasn't really a huge impact player this game, but again, he didn't really need to be. And Flowers and Woodyard had some good plays. Just as a secondary overall, there's a good foundation, and there's good stuff to build on. You're not building your house on sand, you're building it on rock, which is a good sign of things to come. Again, the building process might be a little rough, but as far as the foundation that's being built, I'm very excited to see what the secondary is going to look like, not only next year or the year next after that, or just in future years. But I am excited to see how fast that these guys will learn and compete and perform as this year goes by, and see how it goes. Let's just hope that a lot of their sort of rookie mistakes don't quite happen in very key games. At least lock in enough for the Penn State game. The linebacking core, Betcher is Betcher, Devin Jackson is Devin Jackson. Or is it Devon Jackson? I can't remember. I think it's Devon Jackson technically, right? Chat, let me know. It's fun being able to say chat. Devon Jackson, Devin Jackson. I think Braden Klatt was out also at injury. Blake Purchase made some good plays. Didn't see a whole lot from the linebacking core this game. I'm hoping to see more, not in terms of being like they didn't perform well, but the defensive line in the secondary was just playing well enough that the linebackers were kind of, if they just played well or played to their assignments and didn't just outright suck, then it'd be fine. So I'd like to see more in terms of my assessment of the linebackers. The linebackers, though, I think are in good hands with Jackson and Betcher, obviously. I would just like to see a lot of their potential playmaking abilities. And I think Mixon was in there as well. I didn't really see much of him. I saw a play or two that he was in. I didn't see a whole lot of him. But the second string guys, though, they all played super well. And third string, so on and so forth. I mean, they gave up a touchdown in garbage time, but they got very important reps, and they made sort of them earn it. So overall, the defensive performance was very good, and I'm excited to see what they could sort of build on in the future from here. And I'm hoping that against better competition, we'll see a lot more of them being tested and see what they can, what kind of adversity they can sort of fight through on that. But I was overall impressed with the defensive performance. I'm hoping to see more, though, against teams like Oregon State, maybe Northwestern, but certainly Penn State. We definitely need to see how Oregon is going to be against the run. That's been sort of not a talent issue with the run, but sort of a Tosh Lupoi issue with the run. It's been sort of a scheme thing. And sometimes with how Mateo, with how good he is at his pass rush, he'll outrun his contain assignment on a run. And that's where they like to attack, is sort of using the momentum that Mateo gets with a pass rush against him on run plays. So I would like to see the one thing I think was a good step up though is Oregon gave up a bit of on the run against Idaho. I need some more water. They gave up a good chunk, or maybe not a good chunk, but more than they probably should have against Idaho. And that didn't happen, though, against Montana State. And I think that is big, because also Montana State is a run-first team. They like to establish the run. And I believe the number was 42 yards that that Oregon only gave up. So, again, FCS team. But it was good that they didn't sort of they didn't really sort of give up on the run, even though the game was that out of hand. They still stayed stingy against the run, didn't let anything slide in terms of like, oh, well, we don't have to really play a certain way for this game. And so I do look forward, though, to maybe seeing, though, what the Ducks will look like on defense when a more challenging run game they have to defend will look like. And we probably will see that most with Penn State. And unfortunately, that would be the game that we also would like to know how they'll perform beforehand. But who knows? Maybe Oregon State and Northwestern, or Oklahoma State even, will help us in that pursuit. So I also though think that's why the linebackers didn't stick out as much as, say, the D-line or the secondary, because they're a lot responsible for things like run stoppage and things like that. And so that wasn't really super necessary that game at the time. So who knows? We will see. We look forward to the sort of matchup against Oklahoma State. I think that what we got this week was a good foundation to build on, and it made some of the unknown unknowns more of the known unknowns. And so we're sort of whittling that down to where we have the known knowns all across the board. It's certainly a good confidence boost and a momentum boost going into games now where you're playing FBS teams and eventually conference play. So, overall, liked what I saw. Not too much on the scared factor. Unlike against Idaho last year, it was like, whoa, where are we? Who are we? What's going on? There obviously are some things to clean up in terms of, getting more consistent coverage on certain things. But that's just the nature of the game. Guys like Taco Dowler, they're gonna get theirs when they're nice players like that. He was nice. But against better competition, you definitely want to get your coverage and your coverage communication down as much as possible, because didn't the Ducks learn that lesson last year in the Rose Bowl? Didn't they really learn that lesson? It was a coverage disaster, and that's also what I'd like to see out of the linebackers, a little bit more of being the defensive quarterbacks that they are. So there are things sort of to clean up, and we will figure out also what those things are as the competition gets a little stiffer, and the holes will be more poked in the game. But I will say everything looked pretty darn good even this time around, and Montana State was good enough to poke holes if there were any to a certain degree. And so overall, though, I really liked what I saw, and this season's going to be exciting. I'm excited moving forward to this season. I still don't think it's a natty or bust season, but it's going to be a fun season nonetheless. And the biggest thing is just being in the circle and competing. So even if you don't win the national championship, but you make the playoffs, be competitive in the playoffs. If you make a playoff run, make it the best playoff run you possibly can. And if you have a chance to win a national championship, make it the best, most competitive national championship you've ever won. And that's all you can really ask for. I think I have most things covered that I wanted to cover. Please go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, and be like Stevie Mac and be a welcome chatter. And you can discuss anything that you want to discuss duck-wise, and direct the conversation that way, as well as the topics of discussion that I have on my show as well. I want this to be sort of a community effort where Duck fans are talking Ducks. But with that being said, like, subscribe as well, comment all your thoughts on this on the game from Saturday, and go ahead and stay tuned for Thursday, where we will then do a sort of small-ish show where we preview the Ducks matchup versus Oklahoma State. But in the meantime, for now, I think that'll be it for me, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Foot race to their sideline. Touchdown, Oregon!